Hello, and thank you for joining us again on this human design collaboration. Today, Diana Marie from Transcending Ascension, am joined by Tah Groen of Living Our Human Design. And today we do collaborate. Today we do dive into things we're not sure about, but we sense the coming. And that is this huge shift of, let's call it, stability and anchoring in our higher frequencies in this 2025, leading us towards an even more major shift in 2027 that we've previously discussed. So today we discuss all the variables and all the things coming up energetically that we feel within this topic. So how are you doing today, Tah?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much. It's a new year. We're in January right now, and I'm just feeling the fresh shift. The energy's just, it's palpable. A lot of creativity, a lot of movement. Yeah, loving it.
Yes. I like that you said creativity because that's one of the ways I'm seeing the shift anchoring is in not just mine, but other people's sureness about their own creativity. How more people are taking the leap into being an artist without skill, or without professional level skill. I'm seeing it en masse, and it was something I felt personally, but I'm seeing it in social media, other people going like, look what I've done, look what I can do, and making music and all the things. Are you seeing that play out in your life?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The creativity in the kitchen for me has been exponential. And then noticing that others are inspired by that and want to play a little bit more. So that's like the first place to express your creativity is with food and in the kitchen. And sourdough bread uh, is what I've been doing. I just made pretzels, the second batch of sourdough pretzels. So that kind of creativity that's deep and satisfying is kind of what is going on for me, you know?
Yes, there's a primordial quality in playing with cooking our food because it's people sometimes take that for granted, but that's like a boss level ability in humanity, something that only existed for royals or extremely rich people only like 100 years ago.
I
It
love
was
it.
once upon a time, not that long ago, cook whatever you can get your hands on and hope you can keep it down. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And that helps me bring in this topic about doing those mundane things, doing them in such a way that elevates them into the spiritual. Like you could move that to laundry, folding laundry, the way you sweep the floor or weed, you bring that deep creative awareness into knowing how to do something fully and completely. Like, do you feel that?
yes, I absolutely feel that. And I've been catching up on laundry since the kids just went back to school. And there is something meditative about it. And we're not, to feel this is, it's been such a known thing. The Buddhist, I'm gonna mess up his name, but Tak, everyone knows his name though. Tak Nit Hung, it's like TNH, a three super famous one. And he one of his books was one of the first books I read when I was really starting to take like awakening seriously and really start to like clean out the shadow and all that stuff. And he mentioned washing dishes and how
Yeah.
he would wash dishes for hours at his monastery, but he found it to be a sacred moment to connect to God. And I later learned you can ground in earth while you do the dishes. So like there are so
Yeah.
many things, and
Yeah.
laundry and food, that like you
Yeah.
are being divine, you are being of
Right.
God.
Right. And so I'm feeling the frequencies rise with this. As we move the frequencies higher, celebrating this truth of living life in this way. And you were wanting to bring in the shift, and that is it's the solidness of how we are grounding our high frequencies. We're able to keep that bandwidth high in the mundane, monk-like washing of dishes. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah,
And then
it's a
it goes,
skill.
yes, yes. And it goes in because like that's exactly what today I wanted to like try to bring clear in a tangible way is that the shift that's been happening is finally anchoring in. So we're still shifting, we're not done, but we're finally sitting back and going, this isn't for nothing. I'm not just doing this. This isn't a fancy. This is real, and not just one day. Because we can all meditate and become enlightened for a day, a two, or three, or weeks on a time. But it's easy enough to get, as soon as chaos happens with anybody with kids or a busy job or any kind of life, they find that like they can be on the spiritual path, but then still be like, why am I dealing with regular life? Like,
Yeah.
why am I in
Yeah.
traffic? I like, why, like all these teeny things.
Yeah.
And we could still be ahead of the curve because like I know me and you are both ahead of the curve medically. So unfortunately, like, there's so many people that have to deal with medical problems that I don't really have to, and
Yeah.
you don't really have to. And like we take care of our children in that manner because we know so much more information. But regardless how much you learn and you work, you could still find yourself being a human and just going, why have thou forsaken me? But that just somehow feels, I don't want to, I mean, I do want to say forever, but like it's gone, like completely, not in the background, not anywhere to be found. And it's not just a personal thing. I'm noticing it like in my Twitterverse because I spend a lot of time in Twitter, and we have private groups of us that have broken off that discuss things on Discord where we're like, what's actually happening? And it's a consensus across the board. We're all noticing like we landed somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And it feels like and this is the quote that I love, the veils have thinned. The veil is thin, and the veil is being taken down, and that we can see all of it. And that's what we're feeling. That's what we're feeling. We're feeling the divine come through us, and that's the light. That's the light. And not allowing any of that. I mean, this is not spiritual bypassing what I'm going to say. Not allowing, because I'm commanding my own frequencies, not allowing the lower frequencies to overtake me. Yes, use them as triggers and uh, launching off and catalyst, but I'm in control of my frequency. I am the highest, most purest, positive, and self. And the realm that we're living in now, the veil thinning makes that more accessible for me.
Yes, and that ties into the kingdom of heaven is already here. So I talk and I say it in the language of rising higher. But the way you just put it of the veils and the constant thinnings, it's because it's always been right here. We're not moving. It's just thinning. So the rising and this thinning, it's all time and space being the
Yeah,
same thing, and that's like the
yeah,
literal experience, and it's
yeah.
fantastic because
It is fantastic.
I love what you said there, and I've been feeling the same thing. So a same
Yeah.
consensus, except I've been calling it the watcher, because we all know the term the watcher. So that's just how I refer to my higher self. Because it,
No, explain the watcher, because I've heard this word and I'm
okay,
not sure
you're
what I
so living
understand.
with.
Because there's a show called The Watcher as well. I'm like, what? Am I
Oh,
confusing this show?
geez.
What is The
Oh,
Watcher?
I found it in a book once upon a time. I can't even tell you which book, and I've seen other people talk about it since. But the originator of the idea, I couldn't tell you because it's one of those things that have just like amalgamated inside society. And the watcher, so the first way the author wrote it, and I always remember that, and that's what I call back if ever I feel the lower self calling and you're about to fall off the higher path and like give in to lower instincts. So the watcher, imagine it as your higher self, because it is the higher self, but this image just allows tangibility where it's sitting up on a high chair above your alignment, and it is watching every thought you think, everything you do. So try to imagine yourself as the watcher, and that creates that automatic separation and distance. What Buddhism teaches, detachment, it automatically creates that with everything in your lived being when you become the watcher. But I
Right.
found over time, and this is what the author, I can't even tell you the full thing, talks about, goes on and on and on. And this kind of almost, it just expands into its own thing, where the watcher and the higher self are the same person. But when you hold that title of the watcher, it immediately reminds yourself, watch what you're doing. Why are you
Mm.
saying that? Why are you thinking that? Because we can have so many patterns and habits, and we talk about negative traits, but certain things we say to ourselves or to our children, just as repeated things that we might not even think are mean or anything, but when why? You have to always be questioning yourself, and it just digs out, digs out, digs out, and it keeps you aware though. That's why it keeps you in the higher
Yeah.
self. It keeps you in
Yeah.
awareness,
Yeah.
because the pre-programs and the things you talked about earlier about just the keeping us asleep and trying to take over in our humanness.
Hmm.
Because the human's very programmable, but holding that watcher self, and that's what I found in this last little bit of time here, that stabilizing of the shift, the anchoring, is that the watcher doesn't leave anymore, ever. The lower self might stir and things, because I have a chaotic house. I mean, three little kids, two bad dogs. Like, I love my dogs, but they're
Too
so naughty.
bad.
And like, so the house is quite often chaos. People come to our house and they have to leave quickly because it's so, well, you've seen Andrew, like people can't handle it. So usually I'm really good at handling it. And I'm always, this is always why they're my test. They're my keeping balance.
Yeah.
And I have not stumbled out of that mode in weeks. Like, that doesn't mean stress doesn't happen, but like it's immediately being circulated. It doesn't have to be dealt with later. Like
Yeah.
everything
And
is
there's a
just
couple things. The projector sensitivity, first of all. So if anyone knows the ethers, the sensitivity of your sacral and all your openness, you would know you are vulnerable to all the energy. So you feeling that positive shift is huge. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on was, now I can put my concept of the observer. That's
hmm
my watcher, right? It's the observer. Yeah, it's the same thing,
yes.
same concept. So yes, I've experienced that, and I love being that observer, that not non-judgmental, but just the spatial referencing and observing, but yet keeping my pure identity so powerfully strong and confident and assured of the frequencies that are mine, and I'm not getting sucked or pulled into the um the yeah, you get to step back and observe and have that ability to stay solid in who you are. Yeah. Yeah, so I love that. The watcher observer saying, yeah, it's like, oh, I see you. Oh, wow. But you are there. We are solid. We are our I own frequencies. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. And I love that you're familiar with it, because like this is what I'm trying to always convey to people, and maybe you can give me better words, because sometimes I feel like my open throat causes me to fall on deaf ears. Sometimes people are like, "Yes, I get that." And other times people are like, "What?" But the
Hmm.
fact that we know we're split, the watcher and that higher self, they have no judgment. They are only ever discerning, not judgmental. They're in
Yeah.
awareness. And the lower self, it doesn't have to be bad. I've tried to tell people all the time, darkness doesn't have to be bad. This is why I love this image. It doesn't have to be bad if you make art with it, if you're creative with it, because we have to have darkness as a human.
Hmm.
Because some people try to say we don't have to have darkness. One day, as the human, I think we always have darkness, because higher beings of spirit and light, they don't. But
Right,
us
right. And that's
humans,
why I commented on, like, no, this is not spiritual bypassing, because we still acknowledge all of that. And in fact, it serves us. And if we are incredibly powerful, it's almost like that dark will serve us. It serves us in that creative way, in that pulling of what doesn't honor our creativity, because ultimately that's it, honoring our desires are of the highest, most purest connection. Yeah, so it pulls away and clears it out, like, oh, you know
yes, and it transmutes it into gold. That alchemy, lead into
yes.
gold,
Yeah.
is the lower self to the higher self. Because they even say, like, higher beings, and like how true any of this could ever be, we could only hope and imagine and just listen to correlating stories. And a lot of things have said that the human is unique in the fact that we think of things that angels and higher beings don't think of, like humor. It's been told, I've heard by many different things, that humans are unique to humor. Like other beings, they can have sense of humors where they can see but they don't like straight out make jokes, and they don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
Hollywood and just all these
Yeah.
things that the human can do. Well, that is, it makes us physical, but the darkness makes us physical, but it can also do all these beautiful things when it's combined with the light. And
Yeah.
that connection is what I'm seeing that anchoring as. Like that is
Yeah.
the anchoring. That watcher higher self is anchoring to the lower self. So like the I don't want to call it an ability, but the
It is an
concept.
ability.
Yeah,
And
it's
I have to share that, they found that gene, that God gene. That's part of what you're talking about. That ability to lighten up, even with humor, because humor is the most pure healing there is. I mean, talk about when you have cancer and you're going to watch, you're told to go laugh and watch all the comedies, right? That's that light gene that's coming in and igniting into something bigger. And primates don't have this God gene. We do. Humans do. So that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
that's
Expanding onto that.
that's the goal. That's the
Yeah.
end game. Like that
Yeah.
is where we're heading. And I feel like we finally checked off a huge piece of the puzzle. We've been doing work for hundreds of years, thousands maybe, but what we just did in the last few weeks, and a lot of the work was done over all of 2024, but in the last few weeks, it's like that it locked in. It locked
Hmm.
in that higher self with the lower self connection, meaning the lower self cannot be disconnected anymore. And I don't like to say such brash assuming things, but and I don't want to test it. But I don't think that the lower self can be fully disconnected anymore. That
Okay.
watcher is
But
always there.
there's people out there questioning. I can hear their questions. But what
Yes.
about the zombies that are walking
There,
around
see,
who are
that's where
not who are not
us
awake?
that's where our splits are happening. That's so I'm not talking all of humanity.
Yeah.
There's a large, you know how they said that, and this is one of those things multiple people have said as well, that the world can be saved if a certain amount of people of
Yeah.
us would
51%, right?
that's what it was said once upon a time, and then other people have said as low as 1%, and
Oh, 1
I've
or
heard
2%. Yeah.
so many different
Yeah.
percentages. I've heard people say 8 or 10, so I'm like, I'm gonna imagine
Yeah.
it as like the 8 or 10 because that seems
Okay.
reasonable
Yeah.
and doable. That's the number that just sits most.
Yeah.
And so if I imagine us, and I don't like the awakened conscious collective, the ascending collective, we are that anchor. We are that
Right.
anchor that forms that connection. And then the all the unawakened humans, that's honestly where a mystery lies in, because the split, right? Some people have said, and we saw that with the COVID pandemic and then the vaccines and them dying from all these different reasons, all connected in that timeline, storyline, that they would just simply die off. And then
Hmm.
the wars started, but I actually think we're too advanced for that. Like the wars are pretty much all getting shut down, at least in the timelines we're in. They're getting shut
Right.
down.
and coming back to the unlimited possibilities of our potential, and
Yes.
that we are infinite. Like in this moment we're flickering, flickering,
Yeah.
flickering, flickering. Which one are we going towards? The frequencies never lie. So we are um yeah. So none of that is real. None of that past, none of that
Yeah,
future.
exactly.
We only have this. And
I That's
so
what some
what's
people
good?
call them. Some people call them NPCs, and I've argued against it. But
Non-playing characters. If you don't know what that
yeah.
means,
Oh, yeah.
non-playing
Thank you. Yeah.
characters.
I argue against it. I've done videos on it because I don't want to believe that there's humans down here that don't have a soul. Because I think everything has a soul. So, and then they even showed it. I don't like to reference movies, but they showed in that Ryan Reynolds movie, he was an NPC character and he woke up inside his video game.
Yeah,
So that's literally, so can they wake up? I've
I
always
love
been
it. I love it.
awake.
She's all over the place.
Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
so fascinating. So fascinating. So so just to clarify, the 8 to 9%.
That's
And
us.
right, and
That's
then we
probably
go
everybody
out
we know
there and
online.
we see like such blankness. Okay, and I've been seeing it. I'm in California and I'm like, I was in a little zone just like looking for a park, and I was going really really slow, like at Balboa Park, really really slow. And I'm like looking, and this person's walking, this older lady, and she could see that I'm like, but she was oblivious, and she almost walked into my car, like literally literally walked in, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see you, but she should have seen me. She was, you know what I mean? And I'm like looking for a parking spot,
Yes.
and she got pissed. I'm like, are you like even human? I'm like, and then there's this couple coming the other way, and they saw me, and they gave me the peace sign, going, like, because they saw this non-playing character try just oblivious. She was like
Yes.
pissed that I
Yeah,
was like not honoring the crosswalk. I'm like,
it's
I'm
yeah,
so sorry, It's like
I know.
that. It's like, are they on a different planet? I
And
don't
it's so
understand.
far away. Once
Uh,
upon a time,
oh
like
my gosh.
political stuff could make me nervous and stuff. Now it is so out there that I'm like, this isn't real. And and
No.
then the people that think it's real, they concern me because, like people I know, and they're talking like our prime minister. Just everyone's saying he resigned. No, he didn't. Didn't you listen to the speech? He did not resign.
Tell
He
me.
shut. He okay. So everybody's been trying to get Trudeau out for a while. If we've heard about it, it's even been in the
Yep.
American news.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's sad.
but I just want to hear your perspective on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I watched his speech. He said he will step down when a new leader is found. But then I forget I don't even know the term for it. I'm not political. But then he prorated, pro something to Parliament. So he closed Parliament down. It's closed for 3 months. And then when it's up and running, they'll do a vote for the new one. And it's like, and he said, when this is done, then I will step down. And everyone's like, oh, he resigned. He resigned. No, he didn't. He shut down the government and
Yeah.
held himself locked in as prime minister because he was about to get voted out in a vote of no confidence. He just tricked you all and stayed in as prime minister, is what he did. And everyone's talking about him stepping down. No, he didn't. And like,
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
not a political person. And that was plain and simple. And
Yeah.
all the news outlets, even Twitterverse, I stay off political Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh God, I try. But my,
Fascinating.
and but it's just, they're so oblivious. So the lady
Yeah.
walking into the car, same
Yeah.
thing. They're just like in la
Whoa.
la land. So
Yeah.
like the split, I'm seeing it, but it's like, how are they ever physically gonna leave? Like, are we like everyone's talked
Hmm.
about them physically leaving, or us physically leaving, or just one day blip will be in two different earths and neither it's just I don't know how that's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
play.
So that is a deep um, it affects. Okay, this is really important because in even just speaking about that, it sort of pulls at you. Do you feel the frequency? It like
I don't even
pulls
like
at
to
you.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives
With
you this like
blankets.
gives you the EBGBs. It gives you this feeling of like not connected to high frequency spirit consciousness, right? So
Yes.
even just the observation and the speaking of it, right?
It's a
So
chore. Yeah.
yeah, pulls at the tingles in my cells, and it's like, ooh, gross, but then it all belongs.
Yeah.
It all belongs. And that moment was for me, actually. You pull it back to us. Oh, okay, it just means that there's a contrast out there, and I
Yeah.
really have to stay in this, don't get pulled out, don't look so much, or don't, yeah, yeah. So can
Right.
you
No,
feel the
that's
can you
it.
feel the
Oh, yes.
the
And that's
ripple?
usually it
Yeah,
always
yeah,
that
it's a ripple.
catalyst to push
Yeah,
away. And that's the one silver lining that
yeah,
I've mentioned. It's like, well, guess what, guys? He shut down the government. This is what I'm kind of an anarchist in that way. Not that I want any bombs or fires or it to
yeah,
actually be violent. I just want them to shut down. Like shut
yeah.
down and restart, I think, local communities more municipal, like in tinier ways, because there's a name for that I can't think of either. It's a term in spiritual communities where it starts with D, where if you get too many, the spiritual community peacefully decides to just separate, because if you get too many voices in a room, there's gonna be dissemination,
Hmm.
and it's not gonna flow, and it's just
Hmm.
gonna be chaos and disorder.
Hmm.
And here we have these countries, ours is 40 million, yours is almost 400 million, where
Hmm.
one person, it doesn't matter what the leader is, they rule everything. Like that to me is just Not an idea. So like
Hmm.
I like looking forward into communities and into things
Hmm.
like that, into ways that we can bring back our own sovereignty in
Hmm.
simple things like markets, cooking for ourselves, and all these little ways.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't lie to say that it'd be very nice if the government could just smarten up, and that could just be, and it's not have to be, but it that's what we're going to
Hmm.
see play out. That's what's
Yeah.
probably going to come in
A-
2027.
And then the optimism always comes with me, and I feel like it is the shift for the better, obviously,
Yeah,
and you do
same. I
too.
have
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
permanent optimism regardless.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, and we're watching it play out in real time right now, which
Yes,
is
that's
incredible.
why it's interesting
Yeah,
to
and it
I love
reflects in the frequencies that we're feeling and that we're talking about today, which is
yes.
solidifying the the gene. The Is it number 7, gene 7 or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the gene
it's
keys.
a
I'm still learning my gene
no,
keys.
no, no, the actual DNA, our actual
Oh, in
DNA,
DNA,
and
I know.
the God gene has a number
Yes.
actually, and that we're more and more are waking up to that, and the non playing characters are uh, it literally has been atrophied and deadened and taken out.
That's what I preach too without the actual science. I didn't know the exact actual term, but I say that they're just detached from their soul. It's not that they don't have one and that they can't, but once you detach, you go into determinism and automatic behavior.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
that's
all you
what
run
we're
off of.
witnessing, and it is really a physical expression of the cells dying, death, and then it comes to that darkness, and so then back to the beginning, that darkness helps us. Why does that? Because that woman helped me realize, oh, I need to stay more, so I can be solid. I
Yes.
am so solid. I am so confident, and it clears it out. Like maybe she took some of my darkness away and she walked
Yes.
it across the street. You know what I mean?
It's true because if we have any residue of old patterns, because regardless, I think we both were born awake and like we're very early awake, even though like it wasn't perfect and I had a lot more to learn, I was never in the Borg. So it's interesting to hit those and find it still gets in you anyways. That was my
Yeah.
point. So when you
Yes.
see these things, you're like, okay, where do I still have to
Yeah.
detach
Yeah.
from this mainstream narrative? Because, school does it to you regardless, friendships, TV, like all these things, well, the programming gets to you. So it's like, where can I detach? And then where are we heading? And that I think is going to come in 2027, where what does this mean for us? Like, are we going to create two different societies? Either way, magically, like energetically, the proof is that's what I'm loving right now is that it's here. It's real.
Yeah.
It's staying too. That's what I like because
Yeah.
there was the Renaissance in the 1700s. There was even the evangelical one in
Right. And
California,
it
in
is
LA,
happening
and it
like that.
fades and it fades.
That is really a good analogy. It is happening like that. I had a thought, and I'm not sure how to articulate it. Maybe you can help me with this. But my thought about this God gene, that I think that's why I'm talking about it, that connection, that ability, that cellular ability to be able to high connection to truth, the truth and what is divine and sacred. Okay, so
Mhm.
we know that that's here in us, and uh, I want to say 50%. I hope,
Oh, I
but
hope too.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I love you. I mean, love your only if, even only 8%. If that's
I'm an
amazing.
100%er if we can
Right,
get
right,
them all.
right. But so then the battle between this transhumanism, the non-playing characters who are not able to find that connection, and to actually some wanting to embrace, Neuralink or chips in the brain, oh, why not? That sounds fun. What? That realm. And then, okay, this is all new. And then the 2027 shift, and how it's the complete opposite, right? So we have that pulling at us, the Neuralink and the Borg, or whatever you want to call it, transhumanism, and we want to call, darkness. And then you have the 2027 shift. How much more significant is that? Because then these children, like your son, Andrew, has this unlimited, infinite connection to divine and sacred energy. You feel it. I feel it when you talk about him. I feel it when I'm even focused now. I can feel the tingles. You've talked about him sitting on somebody's lap and the gift that the person feels with his presence, and so you have the contrast of the transhumanism, and then you have this contrast of what's going to happen with these children that can't speak, but they can only speak through energy and frequency, which is divine. Complete opposite. So that's what I was trying to articulate in by myself, but now that I've spoken out loud, what do you think?
I think that's beautiful, and I think that's exactly the way it's gone. And I've literally had this argument. I even have more details that would leave you questioning more, because I've heard that the brain chips are going to be a decider to separate us from soul. And I've wondered, is that necessarily true? Because once upon a time, people, and I want to say people I trust say it's true, so I do want to believe it, but at the same time, people used to say cell phones would disconnect us, and all
Right.
these different things would disconnect us, yet we
Yeah.
continuously overcome. Even
Hmm.
5G, when 5G was first coming around and the birds were dropping from the sky, I was one of the people that was like, oh my god, do I need a tinfoil hat? Like, is this actually going to be real? Is this actually happening? But then it came about, and we just seem to keep overcoming and keep overcoming and keep overcoming. And I was against the brain chips, and I thought disconnection from the soul, definitely get it. That's a decider. Well, and then I agreed that Andrew will one day become psychic, and we're already working on it. And two other people sent me that podcast to watch. And
Hmm.
one of them didn't even know Andrew was autistic. So I thought that was just such a synchronicity. But
Yeah.
then my husband says, what if a brain chip can help us talk to Andrew? And then I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, of
Oh my
course.
God, what if a brain
Yeah.
chip allows Andrew to talk? And all of a sudden, something I saw as evil changed, and my entire
Right.
like fabric of reality was like,
Yeah.
okay, what? And I can't even
Yeah.
ask Andrew. And then this is the
Yeah.
kind of answers where like God doesn't give you exactly. So now I'm just feeling into it. And now I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, God,
Yeah.
show me the signs, because people were wrong about cell phones. They were wrong about the
Yeah.
computer. My
Yeah.
grandma quit being she was schizophrenic. She quit being a banker, which I just untrained shaman is what I call that. But she quit being a banker because computers came about, and she thought they were evil. And then she thought she never had a debit card because she thought people would come by with machines and just steal all your money. And like she had all these
Right, right, right,
ideas.
right. So there's that. There's all of that. So we do not know. We
Yeah.
do not know. So projection is not serving us because, again, we have these infinite possibilities. We're flickering
But at the same
quantumly.
times, we have to imagine it a little, because we're the creator beings. We
Yep.
are the creators.
Yep.
So like it's a dance, like, because like a
Yep.
part, I don't want to say source. That's more like the quantum field, which everything's source. But like the quantum field holds these possibilities, and then like our archetypical selves play in that, and then we choose the intention and the aim of which one we want to aim
Yeah.
at and go towards, and then the ideas come, and then we're just kind of cherry picking our way through our intention of where we want to aim our reality. Otherwise, you end up,
And it's unique to you,
yes.
right? If we're infinite possibilities, and you have infinite choices. And it's just like the show where they go into that black tube, whatever that is, black mirror, and he opens the door and oh, nope, shuts the door. Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? Just like infinite doors. So
Yes.
you're telling me that you want that door where you can,
But I
and
want the
that's okay.
assurances wouldn't be disconnecting Andrew from his soul, though. And it's
Right,
like,
right. Of course
dude,
not. Of
oh
course not.
God. Or the kind of thing like, there's so many things, right? Like, there's so many.
Yeah.
Back when we got his teeth fixed because we had to knock him out. Andrew's always this kind of things for us. So we had, because he had to get his teeth fixed and he won't sit through treatment. So I had to break my own opinions there on medical, because I'm against knocking out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, but he needs his
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Yep.
doing
Yep.
this and shaking
Yeah.
my grounding.
So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So I love that. So it isn't black and white. There is so much gray in between. So yeah, that belief system of okay, so now building on that possibility that, well, the chip is not all um transhumanism and taking us away from divine, because Andrew is absolutely connected to divine spirit. So even if you put that in him, he's got so much power. Is
That's what
that
I
what you're
think.
that's what you're trying to
That's
say?
what I think. And
That's yeah.
why would why would the source disconnect somebody like him for simply finding a way to communicate?
Yeah.
Like to open up communication. And and they talk about it. I do think EMFs are bad, so it might be toxic for our system. But if a chip in our brain, but then it's if it's used for malevolent intentions. If that chip in our brain can be outside programmed, that's when we're in trouble. But
Yeah.
if that chip in our brain is instant access to the internet and all information, is that falsifying the quantum field? But then aren't we doing that by searching the internet? So where's the line drawn? I
Right.
guess
And
in
the
reference to
line
the
is
body.
drawn because we are the tech. We
Yeah.
remember we talk about this. We are the most advanced technology. There's nothing that's superior to
I
us when we're online.
I
When
agree
we
with
are
that.
online. Yeah.
I agree with that, but then at the same time, that's why I think we invented computers and technology and what we're
Yeah.
doing right now. All this
Yeah.
happens thanks to technology.
Yeah.
So it's like, where is the line? And is there a line? Or is it if it's always done in the sole intent? And then it's like, where do you go? But we just got to keep going, is all we're
Yeah.
going to do. Because
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
upon a time, I thought we were going to fight and win against AI. And now I use it. Like
Yeah.
AI is
Oh,
a
I love it.
legit.
We have a whole show on that. So if you haven't
All
watched
right.
that show, go back and watch the show on AI. I'm loving my AI.
Me
And
too.
the challenge and the skill that you have to um infuse your use of AI in with me, like who
Yes.
I am, like the true identity of my words, my voice, my essence, my frequency. Yes, it's supporting me, but now my skill is to bring more of me into it and not let it be stale, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
100%. And it really allows that age of Aquarius individualization. Like the age of Aquarius is about a selfish era in a way, but that's why we're becoming more into know thyself because of the age of Aquarius and its selfishness. If you know an Aquarius, which I do, my sister's one, she's very selfish. I love her to death. But like,
yeah, so
it,
it empowers me to be more of myself. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no,
exactly.
no, that wasn't what I said, and I need more of me, so I have to build myself
Yes,
up to bring
and
my voice
authentic.
yeah, and more authentic.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
they're
actually a
authentic.
gift. It's
And
really
that's
really a gift.
it truly is. And that's what I like about AI because I feel like we're all being pushed into working for ourselves because for I can't remember the word that if you have too big of a collection of people, it's going to go wrong.
Yeah,
And you lose yourself even if you're in a small cohesive tribe, you could still lose yourself because where am I in the tribe? So
yeah,
working on our own
yeah,
in these private businesses, which we each do, mine transcending ascension, yours living our human design, like that, these are our mountains we're climbing and
yeah,
building. And it means a lot to me to have this. And and to work for this and no matter what it is it's mine, but it was exhausting before AI. Like it was exhausting and I was never keeping up. I always felt like I was failing and it was just never good
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I am redoing my website with the help of AI. It's helping me organize and structure, which is not my forte. I'm like,
Yeah,
I need some
same.
guidance. What's step one? What's step two? And then I'm like, oh, I can handle it now. I can do this organization that helps me get inspired. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're still the
absolutely.
boss. You're still the boss. You're still the
Yep.
creative designer.
Yep.
That's as long as you stay creative designer. I
Yeah.
think is where the disconnect happens when people ask the AI to make something and then just put that out. Like,
Yeah.
no, treat the AI like she's your intern or your
Yeah.
assistant, and you
Yes.
can't exactly trust what she's giving you.
Yeah.
It's your job as the
Yeah.
creative director boss to read what she wrote and then tweak it heavily or lightly
Right.
depending on how she did,
Yeah.
and then go
So
from there.
okay, this is beautiful. And I think it's a great place to sort of wind down with the concept of we don't know what tech will bring us, and to have any preconceived judgments is not serving us. We need to be the watcher. We need to be the observer and just play with this high tech vehicle that we have and connect and not uh, go the chicken little, the sky is falling, because it's not.
Yes.
It's
And they
not
keep
falling.
repeating it. That's what happened. Like I
Yes.
used to be like that myself. Like we all started that way like 10
Yeah.
years ago. But then you just I for one got exhausted with it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was like that's when I finally started doing the work to
Yeah.
spiritually enlighten
Just
because
inner
that's
work. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
higher level. And
Yeah.
then the conspiracy theories start to matter less. It's more
Yeah.
about connecting. And that's what I'm that anchoring. If you're at that level, if you're trying to awaken, know that that anchor of the higher to the lower self is just more tangibly there across the board, not just with me. Like people are reporting it en masse that like
Yeah.
self-awareness is not leaving. It hasn't left
Yeah.
in weeks.
Yeah. And that is the start of what we were wanting to talk about. What
Yeah.
is that anchoring? That is the anchoring. The sky is not falling, and that we are the highest, most pure tech, and that nothing can penetrate this because we are so incredibly powerful. We're so powerful that when we do dishes, we're expanding.
Yes, I love that tie-in. That's perfect.
That was so good.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my
I
gosh.
hope people felt that because I wanted this
Yeah.
to grow, and one
Yeah.
day we will know what's going to happen in 2027, or at least more.
Yeah. Yeah, that was amazing. So good. So good. All right. Yeah. So working on a new website where it will be a hub for everything Tah, because I have a YouTube channel, we have the Substack, we have the Spotify podcast, I'm on Instagram. So my new Living Our Human Design, or tahgroen.com, is going to be my hub
Oh,
for all
nice.
of that, so people will have one place to go, and then they can pick and choose where they want to watch content, or what content do they want,
Yeah,
my
you have such a
yoga.
beautiful, unique name too. So
Yeah.
that's nice.
Thank you. All right. Anything else you want to end on,
No,
Diana?
just no, we're good. And thank you so much everyone for being here with us. I hope you felt this because I did, and this is real. This is real, and I've known it and lived it for so long, but I finally feel like I don't have any doubt anymore that this is so extremely real.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, until next time.